Jesus. Well, the nice thing is that Grandpa's back, so the show definitely is going to go downhill. And next week we're going to talk about the guests we're going to have. But for the fans that are going to start watching live, here you go, kids.
This is True OF Entertainment.
Welcome to the Lost Dollar Business Club, where we talk about business, and not just business. We talk about what makes businesses go up and what makes businesses go down. If you're interested in businesses, this is where it is. We talk about the global economy. We talk about global politics. We talk about everything and anything business related that affects your life on a global scale as well as a local scale. And don't miss after the show, Lost and Found. And as they say, we are live, boys and girls, and welcome to the show. And Grandpa's back from his worldwide sailing adventure with naked Tahitian boys rubbing him down, and he still looks like a white ghost. Go figure.
David. Oh, and we lost him. He completely drops. Yeah, he's done. He's done. He's out.
He's done.
Yeah, we lost him.
We never
Good job, Stephen. Good job, Stephen. Yeah.
I'm here for that. That's why. So
yeah.
No, he's in that country where they have problems, which we're going to talk about soon.
Well, what problems are we talking about today?
Today
we have a lot of problems to talk about.
We have an interesting show today. We're going to talk about the American Pope. That's pretty much a joke. We're going to talk about the old guy that can't get his act together. There he is.
There he is. There's the man.
Act together. We're going to talk about.
Excuse me. We're doing a show.
Hey, excuse me. Well, when we want you, here, let me help you out. You're talking. You're talking.
He's talking.
Go ahead. Interrupt what I was saying. Here, let me help you out. Okay, we're putting my mute for now. We're going to talk about Donald Trump's attack on green energy, how it could hurt the U.S. in the AI race and data centers. We're talking about Newark radar that failed and left controllers blind for 90 seconds. We're talking about, is Japanese anime going to be the next global IP? We're talking about Delta and the lawsuit with CrowdSource or CrowdStrike or whatever they're called. John said something about cannabis, and now he denies it because, the ganja is no good. And I don't know what else. And then the old guy is going to jump in now and tell us about why we couldn't hear him. All right, now, please, feel free.
Yeah, well, I'm back, and then, of course, the intro gets played, and then StreamYard just cuts off my audio.
Of course. Well, it was...
I don't know if that was StreamYard or not.
Yeah, so I couldn't hear what anyone was saying.
All right.
Well, glad to have you back, David.
Yeah,
David. Have you any particular insights after your journey? No. You have no insights. No insights. None.
Well, I did actually mention this to Stephen on one of the other shows we were on. I mean, I had to come back because we run out of oil. So
they couldn't rub them down anymore. So you had to come back.
We ran out of baby oil, so we had to come back.
You couldn't replace that with some some sort of renewable source.
Well, there was a lot of renewable sources happening at the same time.
All right, David. Well, anyway, welcome back. Good to have you, John. John, how are you, John? Good to see you. You have good lighting now.
Yeah. You like my lighting?
No, we like something.
He's got the spotlight, sure. But no, we do have a lot of good lot of good topics today. And I mean, you keep talking about the American Pope. Didn't they just pick the Pope? Did they already pick that, Stephen?
Yesterday.
Isn't that done? Yeah, that's done. Yeah, that's right.
An American guy, and I have this thing. We could also talk about India and Pakistan if you want, but who really cares if they blow each other up? Anyway, so the American Pope is this guy. He's going to be Leo the 14th, and he's going to lead the Catholic Church, and he's on a mission to outreach to restore faith in the church. Well, you little pedophile, that's not happening. So nobody cares.
Oh, no. You're already making the accusation.
I'm not saying he's a pedophile. I'm just saying, 90% of them. But here's what I have. I think it's great that we have an American Pope. I think that's very cool. We finally have it. I think they did it because of the Orange Man, and they're trying to appease him. Whether this guy's the best candidate or not, I have no idea. I think kudos to you for, congratulations. I don't know how that works. So we got this guy and the Nazi Pope that are still alive. So there you go. We still have two popes. Well,
he was. You gotta admit that. I mean, he was technically elected by 133 cardinals who chose this pope. So you could say it is good for America, I suppose, and it's good maybe for the Trump administration in some way, but they still I'm sure had a vibrant debate.
It's a bunch of gay guys sitting in a room. What kind of debate? Listen, I think he's going to look wonderful in this outfit with the hat and the shoes. It's just great.
He's a Chicago native. He's a Chicago native.
It's for him. So go play for the Cubs.
Well,
I'm very excited.
I thought it was really interesting yesterday. I was watching it on CNN, and because it's, for some reason or another, nobody in Europe seemed to be particularly interested. But and like breaking news, any moment now the Pope will be announced. Any moment now. This went on for an hour till they got into the discussion is why he could possibly not have come within the normal half an hour that they take. And then he had a discussion about, well, they could choose a Pope like they did once who was extremely fat, and they couldn't get any because he has 3 sets of clothes which are designated to the potential new Pope. And this one particular Pope was so fat that he couldn't get any of the clothing to fit him. So they had to have a tailor come in and cut it up the back so they could just kind of wrap it around it. So this was what CNN was saying. Well, he could be rather a stoutly gentleman, or when Pope Francis came out, he was just all dressed in white. That made a statement. But normally they come out, they could have a bit of red or a bit of purple, and so talk about a whole load of bollocks spoken about, because the Pope didn't truck up on time. He was an hour late. I mean, what good is that? Anyway, I don't care. I'm Church of England, so we're not really particularly worried about it. But
well, look, I mean, he picked.
And all kidding aside, congratulations to whatever your name is, Pope, whatever.
Pope Francis, Leo the 14th. Pope Leo the 14th. Yeah.
What's his name? Francis? No, Robert Prevost.
Okay, so Bobby, congratulations on becoming the Pope. Yeah. And you're from Chicago, so you know what that means. You've got to take a little vig off the top and let popes marry women again. Like the Pope, I think it was, I forgot, in the 6th or 7th century CE, the Pope is the one who said you can't be married anymore. So get rid of that nonsense. Let them marry people, get the penguins pregnant and have little penguins running around. And now you got a church that people are going to want to belong to. I'm just trying to help out.
Yeah.
It's a possibility. It's a possibility. This is...
They have a history of doing nice stuff, don't they, popes? I mean, there was one pope, I think it was 18 or 19, and they eventually managed to get him, to do away with him because he was bedding all in sundry in the court and everything. But he was only 18 and 19. And there was another one who had a fight with the previous pope, and then they dug him up and took him to court, and then they had this whole. So I had this corpse in the court where they were trying him for all these previous crimes. So yeah, it's it's a circus. It's a circus, isn't it? To be honest. But,
and to listen, all the I think it said 1.2 or 1.8 billion Catholics out there.
Yeah,
1.4. Sorry, 1.4 billion Catholics. Remember, David is Church of England, and he hates you. The rest of us love you. So send your cards and letter to him. Anyway, go ahead.
But if you think about that, it's an absolute. It's a huge political, intellectual, social, and economic force. It's as big as what the population of China. I mean, they have. It's gonna. It's a very, very powerful movement. And we'll just see what happens. Earlier.
So yeah.
But were you thinking about the Pope at the time, were you?
No, I was thinking about anything. So all right, enough about the Pope. Congratulations. Right. We've wasted 9 minutes of time.
You started.
Well, we figured we had to discuss it. Michael and I went back and forth on
you gotta hit the first US born Pope.
Yeah, it's a big thing. And, and we're going to ask him to come on. We're going to ask him to come on the show.
Most of his, a lot of his, he wasn't sitting in Chicago. He was the bishop in Peru.
So he also has a Peruvian passport, so he doesn't need a green card.
Yeah, there you go.
Now he's
So
living in Vatican City in the big cute house there. He's get to wear those funny little slippers they make in Palm Beach at that one shop on Worth Avenue. He gets to wear the funny hat, dress up like a clown every day. Come on, it's a good gig, and they pay
Yeah,
you, I
yeah,
guess. They give
yeah.
you food and water and
And
well,
pennies.
the Dutch
let's
spend a fortune every year around Easter, and they send him all free flowers, and
Oh,
they always thanks them all. Bedankt for the bloemen. Thank you for the flowers. Yeah, right.
I got your dunk for the boomer right here.
well,
So
they're
let's
about
move
to
to something.
go rotten anyway, so you might as well send them free.
There you go. So let's talk
Yeah,
about
yeah.
something else that's interesting. Let's talk about the UN.
Cut
Let's
flowers,
talk
very
about let's
dangerous.
let's talk about the UN running out of money. The UN doesn't have any money. It's going to go if they don't get everybody doesn't pay their bills in by I think it's June or July. The UN has no money. So is that a good thing or
Yeah,
a
but
bad thing?
how often has this happened? How often has this happened where they've been close to insolvency?
So the article that I read, and let me tell you where it's from because we got a whatchamacallit here. If I'm not mistaken, it was in the FT. And what the
Yeah,
FT
we
said.
cite our sources. We cite our sources
Yeah, we
here
cite our
on the Lost
sources.
Dollar
We
Business
don't
Club.
like pull things from our tuchus. But
Yeah.
the FT was saying that, like America owes money, this country, it goes through everyone owes money. Your membership dues are due on January 1st. And most countries pay late. So what happens is out of the 180 or 200 member countries, let's say 50 of them will pay in January. And then the others get around to it, US being one of them. So I think if I'm not mistaken, in July, their deficit's going to be like 300 million or some ridiculous thing. So if they don't get enough money, they have to cut back more programs and do this and do that. They don't even know if the US is going to pay their dues anymore because of Trump. So in
Well, they're
theory,
saying, I mean,
you,
the Economist says that both America and China are
yeah.
financially withholding funds.
Yep.
Yes.
So now the question is, if that happens, they're saying that at the end of the day, the UN can run out of cash. America and China are not going to pay. They have a $3.7 billion budget. And the article, I'm sorry, was in The Economist because I found it finally. And that's the big thing. And it goes through about how America, the UN, in 2026, the UN will refund 300 million back to their people. It's a fascinating article, but really at the end of the day, the UN has no money. So there's not going to be, and I don't know really what the United Nations does anymore. I don't think they do anything. So
Well,
I
I
don't
mean,
know.
the Economist calls it a citadel of peace and security. So this
Economists.
is. I'm
Economists
not sure. Yeah,
write
I'm not
stories.
sure. I'm not sure.
They do stories 3 weeks after we bring them up
No, but what do
from
you?
our
Yeah,
show.
that's true. True. Well, what do you think of this, John? What impact has the UN had on your business career and your business outlook?
Jesus.
You know what the UN is.
I I don't think it had any impact, to be quite honest.
There you go.
Right? I mean, they don't do business. They they're in disaster areas, maybe a little. What do they do? I mean, it's fascinating. They have what did you say? The 2 billion,
3.2 billion.
No, it's
3.2 billion.
3.2 billion.
It's a
Well, they have it.
3.7 billion budget. Yeah.
Oh, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, 3.7.
Yeah.
They have the UN Peace Corps somewhere around the world where there's some skirmish, and they get shot at. Do they distribute food? In famine areas? I don't know. It just
We actually did use the UN when we did the Bolivia deal, when we did the largest red deal in the world under the Cato Protocol back in mid 2000s. The UN was there. They worked with us on that. So that's the only time I've run across anybody that the UN did anything. I've run across people that work there. I don't know what they do. That's what I'm saying. I don't know if we lose it. I agree that the Economist calls it something like a citadel of whatever, but I don't know if we lose it if it's the end of the world. So you know what I mean? Like I don't know if what they really do.
Well, has it evolved? I mean, it was there for a purpose after a global catastrophe, world war,
Right.
and it's now 70 years later. So
yeah.
there's an evolution that's happening in the globe, and if business owners and people who are impacted by these international organizations don't see there being any impact at all, then what's the
Right.
point? What's the point? Plus,
really,
there's also the issue that you think of. I mean, I would love to talk with the people who do interpretation, live interpretation, but just imagine how difficult it is to have all of these different countries with different interpretations of language trying to speak toward one mission. I mean, even just the linguistic challenges alone make it a Herculean effort.
Yeah, like I said, I think if they get rid of the UN, that's going to be a beautiful condominium with a sports arena, and I think it's very nice. I mean, that's probably what Trump's thinking. China, China looks at the UN as a joke. The Security Council and this council, they don't really do anything. They make resolutions, and if the four of us run a country, and the UN says, if you don't do this, we're going to do this, and we go, yeah, okay, go ahead and do it. That means they have to put a coalition together, UN peacekeepers, which are just soldiers from other countries. They don't have their own army, right? So then we got to give you all blue helmets and a nice little tank that says you want UN in it, and we send you to go to give us a spanking. I think we have to come up with a better system of government than that.
Well, they don't engage. That's the thing. The UN forces are not allowed to engage. So that's why, between the Lebanon and Israel, they were stuck. They had like all these posts along the border, and they were being shot at from both sides, and they couldn't do anything about it, but because they didn't have a mandate to do it. But I mean, there are lots of these things. I mean, you've got the International Court of Justice in The Hague. Yeah, nobody gives a monkeys about what they say. Oh, right, you said something. Yeah, right, fine, the end of it. We've got NATO happening here. That's going to cost Holland, I think, something like 30 million or something. And Trump's
got 30 million. He's got Nazi gold. He'll give it to you. He'll do his own loan.
Trump is saying, it could be 300 million. It's a phenomenal amount.
John doesn't have 300 million, though.
And then Trump's saying, well, I might not come. So everybody's got the heebie-jeebies about the fact that they're going to have NATO, but without Trump. So another one of these organizations, because there was Article 53, I think, just changing tack, that says if one country is attacked, then the rest of the coalition will come and attack your attacker.
Right.
Well, that's not actually strictly true. It's not. They're not obliged to do it. It's like so. So NATO itself has no teeth. So all these quasi-organizations cost a phenomenal amount of money. Everybody works there on tax-free wages.
Right. Yes.
It's a cushy little number.
Yeah.
Everything gets paid for. They're not in Airbnb. They got all nice hotels and first class travel and all the rest of it.
There are different global bureaucracies, that just feed off the trough, so to speak.
So like the UN, it would be everything like that's becoming very antiquated because it hasn't kept up with the times, and they're still living, if you will, in the 1960s. So to be a powerhouse, whether it's the UN or NATO or whatever it is, they need to actually modernize then and come up with, hey, this is what we do in this century. Not like this is what we do in 1960.
Sort of like it's supposed to sort of getting the electric chair for murder and rape and pillage. It actually has a small, it kind of has a small wooden ruler which just wants to tap you on the fingers, So right, UN, okay, right, fine. UN
that was a good segue into NATO though, because that's obviously another organization that has long running roots that maybe is evolving and needs to evolve. But they did announce in 2020, so this is a long time, several years ago, but they announced their 2030 initiative about expanding NATO's strength and relevance with cybersecurity, certainly, and that was the big issue, training and capacity for partner countries. But has that come to pass? I think that's the real challenge.
Well, they've expanded, because they've taken in some of the Scandinavian countries that are all bordering on Russia. But if you look at most of the kit that they're all wearing, it's all American kit. So if America doesn't want to be in the club anymore, it's like the US is the club sponsor. So everybody uses their kit, and so when they go, yeah.
And just to show how bad it's gotten, if you go to the NATO events website, it lists recent events from 2021.
Oh,
so
wow.
what have they been doing for the past 4 years?
What they've been doing, they now have a new chairman, who used to be the Dutch Prime Minister. So there you go.
That explains it.
What does that tell us, David? What does that tell us?
Mark Rutte is, they call him Pinocchio here. So that'll give you an idea of how he, he's just, he's right up, Donald Trump's rectal cavity. It's unbelievable. But because if the US falls out, NATO, what's it? It's the North American, was it Treaty Alliance or whatever it is?
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
So no North Americans. Oh yeah, the Canadians. But what are they going to offer us?
Yeah. There's some Mounties on horses. That's what they'll offer.
Wow. It would be interesting to see. But I did know a girl that dated Pinocchio, and she used to sit on his face and say, "Lie to me, Pinocchio, lie to me." But that's probably a different story for a different show. Anyway, we're going to talk about CrowdStrike and the lawsuit with Delta, or do you want to talk about that Trump hates green energy and the AI centers are having a heart attack?
Yeah, let's talk about the data center issue, because I recently saw a lot of complaints about, particularly in Indiana, where a lot of Meta's data centers are being placed. And these are not just regular traditional data centers. They call these hyperscaler data centers, which are gigantic, and they're windowless, and they quote some of the most energy intensive facilities in the world, not just for energy, but also for the water required for it. And Indiana people are saying they don't want it because they're, the neighbors. Not only is it impacting the actual natural resources and electricity, but it's actually impacting the neighbors of these areas. And it looks like Indiana has a couple dozen data centers already planned or in progress, and that's these hyperscaler data centers are just are massive. Well, the question is, do we allow, AI is coming one way or another, so what do we do to make this work?
It absolutely drinks fresh water. That's the thing as well. So if you have a water issue, it has to be fresh water. Salted water, it would appear, just corrodes everything.
I don't know why they don't recycle it.
Because that would require thought, John. Let me give you Donald Trump's administration's thought on this. The article in the FT was 2 days ago. Donald Trump's attack on green energy could hurt USA race data centers. Warn industry needs renewables to meet surging power demand for artificial intelligence, which you guys were just discussing. The Trump administration has warned that losing the AI rights to China is bigger threat, listen to this, than global warming, because when the world's on fire, it doesn't matter, and has advocate increasing the use of fossil fuels to power them. But experts warn it will be difficult to meet the surge in the demand with fossil fuels. And then it goes on to say, data centers, Michael will get a kick out of this one, data centers are expected to add 83.7 gigawatts. Let me repeat that, 83.7 gigawatts of energy demand by 2030, equivalent by adding a new state the size of Texas to the grid, according to the Center for Strategic and International Studies, a think tank. While many companies are investing in nuclear small reactors, it may be years before they're operational.
Well, Google's investing in nuclear reactors all over the place. Yeah.
Everybody,
and Microsoft's doing it. Yeah.
But that's
remember, the article at in Canada, Ontario has just done final approval for a small reactor, and that'll take 4 years to be up and running. And they're the first one in the world that's gotten this final approval. So yeah, the thing is that it takes time. And can you put renewables quickly? I suppose you could get panels, but hey, the panels are now 145% more expensive with the tax on China, because China dominates the solar panel business. So, well, we could not mothball the coal plants that we're mothballing. Could restart those babies. We got plenty of coal. So
that's what
the
Trump
thing
wants to
is,
do, fossil fuels. So that's what he wants, John. He wants
thing
oil,
is,
gas, and coal.
yeah, the thing is, the climate issue, we're not gonna. It's on its own trajectory. We're not gonna do anything that's gonna stop that. It's gonna take its course, and we'll have to deal with it. Anything that we're not gonna be able to do anything to stop that. That's already been in motion.
I agree, John. I agree,
Yeah,
100%. I mean, everything's green here, but I mean, yeah, I can green up the yin yang here, but yeah, if all the nations around us are chucking crap into the air.
Yeah, and remember one thing. Look at what happened in Spain. Their entire production of electricity, 80% of it, I think, is renewables. But renewables are not consistent energy, and it brought down the grid.
Well, it brought down the grid not only because it's inconsistent, but it brought down the grid, which was, they were warned about this, is that traditional generators have momentum in the system because they have these massive rotating motors. And solar and renewables do not have that. So then when there's a disruption on the load, there's no counterbalance. And that is exactly, there was a storm in Spain, a pretty bad storm, and that disrupted the whole flow of electricity because there's no inertia in the system. And they were warned about this by lots of engineers when they went from 0 renewables to now 80% or whatever the high number it is now.
Yeah, so it's
we had a big fire here to beginning of the week, and on top of this particular building, there was a big industrial building. It was covered in, it was totally decked in solar panels, and the heat was so intense from the fire that these panels literally exploded.
Wow.
And have sent all these pieces of glass kilometers into the air. So there's about 10 or 15 kilometer area around where this fire was, which are now covered in little shards of glass. So you can imagine all these. You can't farm anymore.
Yeah.
You can't farm anymore. You got to find this stuff. You can't put your animals out to graze. So these are all like, oh yeah, but we're all super green. We've got all these panels, etc., etc. But there are nobody considers the fact that in a slightly more aggressive fire than one had anticipated, that they're actually going to explode.
Yeah.
So
exploding. That's a good one.
So now with this all being said, and people, Microsoft and Google and the rest of them are trying to figure out mini nuclear power plants, and Canada is going to come online in 2029, 2030, and we're losing the race to China. So what do we think? We think that Trump should do a combination of the old fossils and renewables and X, or what do we think?
Well, I mean, it sounds like you have to do a combination of everything, but the thing is, we have to upgrade the electric grid because with the massive increase in electric production, you have a grid that's 50, 60 years old. It can't take the surge in energy and
sorry guys, all that talk of exploding solar panels got my computer excited.
Right, you need to upgrade the
grid. No, but
grid
seriously, I mean, I just want to go back to that. I'm on the planning board in my town, and we're actually reviewing our solar law for this reason. I mean, we banned electric battery storage units because you can't handle the fires that could result from battery storage facilities, utility scale. But we're also looking very hard at solar, the solar law, because I mean, this exploding solar panel issue is something I'm going to bring up too, but because there's a lot of unintended consequences that people did not see when you say, let's champion solar energy without any of the issues of runoff, especially in rural areas with farmland. They found those forever chemicals leaching into the soil from the solar panels, those PFAS chemicals. So, and then of course there's the visual look and feel, which is just, the aesthetics are horrible of solar panels in my opinion. But that's, there's a lot of people who say the aesthetics are worth it. The poor aesthetics are worth it for the sake of eliminating fossil fuels. I'm not sure that property owners in the area agree with that.
But I don't think we're ever eliminating fossil fuels. I think that's a fallacy. And I had this dialogue yesterday with someone over cigars, because they would go, what do you think of electric cars? I think that's a joke. It's a joke until you can make a really good battery in a car battery that I charge it like almost BYD or the other one, where and in 5 minutes I get 85% charge and my battery goes 1,000 miles. Then maybe it's good, and you have to bring the cost down. But if everybody's in electric cars and everybody's doing this and everybody's doing that, we haven't evolved as a society yet where we have enough fossil fuels, enough solar, wind, mini nuclear. We don't have anything, so we can't deal with this. So I think fossil fuels are here for a good 50, 100 years, because even though Aramco and all these other companies are saying, oh, we're going to do, that's wonderful, but you just started yesterday. Even if you started 20 years ago, it's still yesterday, because there's no movement and there's no profit in it. And until
the thing is,
you can make a profit, you're not going to care.
The batteries, even if they've developed, we need a process where we, at an industrial scale, recycle batteries, because the dirty part of this whole thing is not being addressed. Solar panels need to be recycled too, and okay, there's a little bit here and there, but it's it has to be a massive thing.
Yeah.
So,
that's the problem for tomorrow. They kick that can down the road. I mean, John touched on a thing about capacity, which I think is what Steve is also alluding to. That just isn't there. It's I mean, I live in a row of houses, and the other side of me is woodland, so I don't have any. Then there are 2 chargers in the outside on the street for the whole area. So I couldn't have a charge on the house because I don't have a driveway to put my car in. And even if I did, and somebody said, well, I'm going to put them all in, then the local government or the local utility company would say, I'm terribly sorry, but we don't have the capacity to give you your electricity. You can put as many charging points as you want, but there's no capacity in the system to do it. And I was reading a report this morning as well about the EU. They're kicking the can down the street now for electrification. It's both, they've added another 2 years onto it, and now a lot of the manufacturers are saying, you know what, maybe hybrids are the way to go.
Yeah,
and a lot of them have stopped
Well,
producing.
Toyota's doing that.
Yeah,
Toyota's doing that. I mean, Toyota's making a big bet.
But not a hybrid in a respect that all these hybrids they're talking about doing are the ones that keep the gasoline percentage down. So you run it on gasoline, and then it charges your car up on the way, or when you brake, you get the kinetic energy that way. Not you can plug it into the wall at the same time, because there's no electricity to do it. It's totally useless. And as regards batteries, we had this discussion on the show with Greg. If anybody can solve the battery problem, apart from the fact that, as John said, they're incredibly bad for the environment. But unless somebody comes up in the next 5 years and can patent it and to produce it, cheap batteries that will hold 2, 3, 4 days worth of solar energy, then they're useless, because what we produce here in a day, we have to use in a day.
Yeah.
Or you have to, or they have to pay the. He was talking on Funny Haha, which will air Monday, by the way, on the channel, with Greg, that if he overproduces energy now, David has to pay to put it back on the grid. They don't pay him anymore. David has to pay to give the electric company to take his energy. Dumbest thing I've ever heard. Right? The beginning was like, put all this up and we'll buy your energy, and now all of a sudden we're like, oh, we're losing money. So
because everybody did it, Stephen. That's just it. We all listened.
Yeah.
We listened
to
him. And everybody said, "That's great. We understand that. You know, we've got all these roofs everywhere. Every building's got a roof on it. Great. Let's put solar panels on it, and we collect all this electricity, which we have to use within the day.
Yeah.
Oh, so if we can't use it, what are we going to do with it? Oh, we put it back in the grid." And then somebody said, "Well, you know, hey, I thought we were selling you guys electricity. Now we're we're storing electricity for you guys for nothing."
But my point is that, and it's kind of talking whether you want to look at these centers or what you three were just saying, is that we are at the infancy of this. So until something happens where we're not at the infancy, then solar, wind, and the rest of it will work. Like they're trying to make a hydrogen car. I think that'll be great because every car will be like the Hindenburg, and that'll just be awesome. But that's just my perverted sense of humor. But it's just, we don't have it. And nobody's tried and nobody really cares. Even Porsche said now, we're really not going to do a lot in electric cars because electric's not, like, nobody cares. They're like, we're just going to make gas powered, maybe some hybrids. Everyone's saying that. So this push for electric is a make-believe fantasy. The push for hydrogen cars is really a make-believe fantasy. So we don't have anything yet where we're going to do anything great. So we're screwed as a planet, and we talked about this on another show. You don't seem to be running out of oil.
Bring back the water-powered cars. Bring back the water-powered cars, right, Stephen? From the early days of automobiles,
And then there'll be a water shortage. So this is the whole thing, right?
But hydrogen is a good issue, but nobody's been able to engineer a container that won't blow you up, the car up. And half of the highway and a bit of the town as well at the same time.
Well, it depends on the town, David.
Yeah, I mean, but there is. I think it was Toyota that they've been looking at having these. A little bit like Neo that has these instant. It's like a large sandwich box, for want of a better word, and you just put that in and click it into the car, and that'll have hydrogen in it. Great. I mean, if we could find a way of them not blowing up, happy days.
That's what I'm saying. It's the Hindenburg on the road. Can you imagine though, if it's like the Ford Pinto, you get into an accident, I mean, you might as well just kiss goodbye. It's like, honey, we're about to get hit, and you have a hydrogen car. Yeah, it's going to be like, the Pope, the American Pope will be, I mean, it's going to be like crazy. So the whole problem is that when they talked about this back in the 60s, like, hey, we got to do something so we're prepared. And we would go, yeah. Well, now it's 2025 and we haven't done anything. It's 60 plus years later. Okay, well, now it's a little too late. So to David's point, the Earth's going to do what it's going to do. Oil companies, especially now because of Trump, drill baby drill in the oceans and this and that and blah, blah, blah. Awesome. At some point, the planet's going to be like, enough's enough. And there's not anything we're going to do, whether it gets hotter, the storms get worse, it gets colder, whatever it's going to be, whatever climate change or global warming is going to take place is going to take place. And there's not a lot we're going to do to change it because it doesn't seem like anybody wants to. And 87 point whatever gigawatts of power, you're going to have.
Well, I mean, I think people would prefer sources of energy that don't damage the environment, but where's the technology that end-to-end actually answers that question? End-to-end, I mean, the production and the maintenance and then decommissioning of solar panels is not a clean process. It's not a clean process.
Has anybody even thought about that? Has anybody ever thought of, go back to the solar panels? I don't think anybody's ever thought about what we're going to do with them. Right. They got like 10, maybe 15-year life, and then they've got to be changed.
Right.
So what then?
You know how it is.
You
you put politicians in charge of making these decisions, and it looks great. We'll have free energy. that's what happens, right? They don't really think it out. They don't listen to.
Well, we listened. We had lots of free energy, and now we're going to have to pay.
Well, they have to pay to take the free energy and take it off. David was saying on Funny Haha, which once again airs on Monday. He said that he's going to shut his solar panels off because he goes, I'm not paying for them to take my energy. So, I mean, this is what's saying is they make a hype about everything and they make their money and they're like, yeah, now we don't care. So
can you turn off
can
you turn it off like say like a switch or
there's a switch downstairs. Yeah, there's a switch that because at the moment we're getting, it was 36 euro cents a kilowatt, and then they slashed it right down to 20, and now it's going like to 9 cents. And when our contract runs out, we've got a little bit of a space, about a year and a bit. But when our contract runs out, we then have to pay them for the extra sunshine. I mean, it's really sunny today. It's been cold all week, but really sunny today. And it'll be easily, 7-8 kilowatts that we'll generate today, maybe 10.
Right.
And and then I'm paying them. So no, we just switch it off. We use it during the day. We use what we use. We do, we'll have everything. You have AI to work out for us what are the best times to turn the washing machine on and the dishwasher, all the stuff that is really juice hungry, right. And maybe have airco in the house. And then at a certain point, we switch it off.
Have you ever thought, that maybe you could grow some cannabis with some electric lights? I mean, that might help.
That's
the enterprise at home.
That's kind of a little bit out of fashion now. I mean, there are the odd places to get busted, but at this point in time, what's happening is that most people who have an extra house over or whatever, or they're renting houses, they're putting meth labs in instead because it's the meth lab technology has become small enough that you can fit it into a semi-detached. So
nice.
There you go.
Good to know. And that's
so we got to do Breaking Bad. We got to do another. Yeah, we got to do another Breaking Bad series.
Holland is big on.
I said exports. Yeah, they export a lot of drugs. Yeah. You'd be surprised.
Next kids on the show, we'll teach you how to build a meth lab at your house in Holland with pictures and diagrams and where to buy all the supplies. That's crazy.
With free electricity. There you go.
At the moment, yes. At the moment, and of course, their biggest problem is all the chemical waste. So there was a report yesterday, because they just dump this stuff everywhere. They fly tip it everywhere they can. But of course, that's becoming more and more difficult. You truck up with literally a lorry full of these chemical, big plastic chemical barrels with highly toxic stuff. So now they're sort of pressurizing, blackmailing, paying farmers to put it in their slurry and to mix that all up and to spread that across all the fields around us.
Oh.
So there you go.
They should just burn it and produce more electricity.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
all right. Let's go. Let's talk about Michael's story. He wants to talk about Cloudflare CEO. AI is killing the business model of the web, as well as Delta Airlines class action suit cleared for takeoff. Michael, what do you got on that stuff?
I think the AI breaking the model of the internet is a really important story, because I think most people have no idea that most of the internet, the idea of a free content only works because Google search, which dominates 95% of search, for every 2 pages that they scraped from your website, they would send you 1 visitor. So that was the ratio for a long time. Then it decreased over time to 6 pages to 1. So 6 pages of content you gave to Google, they gave you 1 visitor. And now with AI, the ratios are now on OpenAI, 250 pages scraped to 1, meaning that now people who create the content are getting nobody even at their website to see it, because AI is acting like the middleman. And that means that no visitors means no advertising, means no subscriptions, means no money for people who are creating original content. So this is
Wow.
really, this is a real crisis
sort
that
of
Cloudflare brought up.
cannibalizing it, really, then, because eventually nobody will produce anything. There'll be nothing left to scrape.
Well, they won't produce anything for free. You know, right now people just post it on the web because they want to share knowledge.
Yeah.
But why would you do that if you literally can't survive based on writing that content? You get no ad revenue anymore because nobody's visiting your website, and you're getting no new subscribers because nobody's coming to your site to say, let me subscribe.
That's crazy.
So now all these AI companies are going to have to make deals with content creators, because there has to be, we want content to be out there, we want content to be available, but there's got to be a new paradigm for this. And Cloudflare, which supports 80% of the web traffic, Cloudflare is the one bringing it up, because they're the ones seeing the issue, that now AI websites and AI technology is taking all of the traffic, and everybody else is left to shkivat, as they say.
So, how does, you know, if I have a website and, you know, or a Substack, writing blog, how do I get paid, you know, from Google? I don't get that.
Yeah, so I mean, on Substack, so the model on Substack is that there's no advertising, but usually Substack, they'll give you some content for free, and then you subscribe as a paid subscriber at different levels, and that's how you make your money. Because if you get 6,000 visitors from Google, you get 1,000 people paying $5 a month. That's some decent money right there. But now nobody's even going to the websites, because AI is giving you the answer on site, you know, where you're at. Even with the Google AI overview, Google is eviscerating its own business, its own advertising business, because Google is offering up the answer for you on the Google page and not sending you anywhere else.
To the page, yeah. So, and really quick, tell us about the Delta lawsuit. You said Delta's lawsuit. Then we're going to touch on one for John. John brought up something about RFK Jr., so you know that's going to be good. So we're going to touch on that one next. But
oh yeah. We'll touch on John's, but yeah, the quick one on Delta is that there's a class action suit against Delta, because Delta apparently was the airline hit most severely by that debacle where CrowdStrike, which protects computers. They didn't do the update, and the update that they did push up was it crashed the computers. It blue screened the computers. So even though Delta knew this was happening, and the companies told them about it, they continued to not fix the problem, not deal with the problem. So now all these customers, a federal judge said, all these customers of Delta can now sue Delta in a class action suit because they did not react properly to the problem, which is fair, you know.
That
first
and
class
they also,
tickets
you got to react properly.
I think,
that's
you
goodbye,
know,
Delta Airlines then.
they also offered a payment, but they didn't, I guess, advertise or tell the people that when they signed for the payment that they were giving up the rights to sue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, and it was only a partial payment. Yeah, right.
Yeah. Welcome to America, people.
Yeah.
It's the same thing that happened with Skype. Now, my Skype thing is finished, which I was using to call the UK, and I had like $4.50 or something left over. But I'm not going to get it back from Skype now that they've decided that Skype no longer exists, because wait for it, they're offering me an alternative, and so therefore it nullifies my ability to get my money back from them. And the alternative is to join Teams, which you have to pay for, and it doesn't offer me any of the facilities that I can use, that I could use just with Skype. Just call my stepmother.
You
So
realize
yeah,
you could just do Google Voice for free, right? You make a calendar invite and it's free. So you might as well do Google because Teams
yeah. But the
sucks.
Yeah,
thing
but
is,
Teams for
Skype
children.
was great. Skype
Skype
was
was
great.
good. I
yeah.
like Skype. Yeah.
It's great. I mean, basically what I do is I would call my she's
Yeah.
91, so
Yeah.
she's not going to, Skype. What's that? Never heard of
All
it.
right.
So I'd call on Skype, and she'd just see my number come up as if it was a normal telephone.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So,
All right. Well, let's touch on this subject, and then we'll go to Lost and Found. Even the whole show has been Lost and Found. RFK, not the football stadium, but the guy who's running whatever the hell he's running, the FDA, blows the lid off of the big
No, the
food
National
worst
Health
scam.
Institute.
What has he got, John? Tell us what JFK Jr. is doing with food.
Do it.
Do it,
Well,
Johnny. Do it.
it's very simple. Back in when the FDA was formed,
All right.
they decided what stuff needed to be tested for safety, and the common items, wheat, eggs, and I forget what the other item is, were deemed safe, and so they didn't need to go through a testing program. Now, what food companies have done is they've sort of self-assessed themselves that a whole bunch of chemicals that they use are deemed safe, and so they use this loophole to do that. And the end result is that in the U.S. there's about 10,000 chemicals that food companies use, which have never been tested for safety. On the other hand, in Europe, where you have to, there's only 400 that are approved. So you can tell that there's a huge difference there. So Robert Kennedy, head of the National what is it, Health and Human Services, department, he wants to close that loop. He needs the Congress to pass a law to change it, so that the FDA can close the loop, which it's part of what he's already done. He's already eliminated food dyes that we've had for like eons, which are not
No good.
they're petroleum based. There's no safety in them, and there's really no need for them, and there's natural alternatives. So so this is part of that whole process.
And there's no nutrients. The article pointed out that people in America are obese and malnourished because these chemicals provide no nourishment, and yet they make you eat more.
Yeah, and plus I would imagine that they make you addicted to whatever product that you're eating. That's sort of
in
the
Ireland,
implication.
they had a bit of a thing with McDonald's because there was so much sugar in the buns that McDonald's were using that it would have classified as being candy.
Wow.
So they had to change. So they had
That's
to change
crazy.
it because it's of course sugar is. If I came onto the market today with sugar, it would be like heroin, wouldn't it? I mean, it's just it would be a class A drug. But there we go. I mean, you guys are happy to put arsenic in Oreos, so whatever floats your boat.
There you go. Hey, well, let me give you something really quick, and then we can do Lost and Found if anybody. Because I have a story we can throw on Lost and Found. Cause it's all about making money. But here's a real interesting story. I thought you guys get a kick out of Newark radar, Newark Airport left controllers blind for 90 seconds. There's a story in Bloomberg. The story came out on May 5th. It talks about that the airport that on April 28th, an outage of the key systems occurred for 90 seconds. People said that they didn't want to be identified, but they said the incident let the staff crazy for literally 90 seconds. They had to cut 35 trips for the day, round trips, 30 departures. Delta Airlines, everybody, they said the radar frequency stopped working. There was no fail-safe. People, meaning the controllers, must simply wait for the system to come back on. Left unchecked, the controllers are concerned. The facility could have a tragic accident. So there you go. And the FAA, I think, is debating if they're going to look into that. So there you have it. That was very interesting, I thought.
Yeah, the radar system in the US is like 60 years old. Yeah, Trump has now announced through the Department of Transportation that they're going to upgrade the system. You know, they've been talking about this for, I don't know, 15 years.
Yep.
And so
So
they
there'll
need
be no
the
dwarfs
money
working
from,
there then.
yeah, they need 12 billion from Congress to do it. It would take 4 years to implement. Yeah,
Elon's got that. Let Elon
yeah,
write the check. He screwed up everything. Let him fix it now. So, all
yeah.
right, boys. Everybody have an article for Lost and Found? We'll do a real quick one, and
Oh,
then everyone
let's
can
do it.
go.
Let's do a quick one.
All right, here we go. We're going
Okay.
to do a real Lost and Found. Here we
Ever
go.
wonder how millions vanish into thin air, or how a single dollar can make all the difference? Join us on Lost and Found, where we dive into the wild world of financial mysteries. From misplaced fortunes to unexpected windfalls, we unravel the stories of people, companies, organizations, and even governments who've lost and found millions. Lost and Found, because every dollar has a story.
Now, literally, our whole show today has been Lost and Found, but I figured I'd just
Yeah.
throw that in there. And once again, Bandicoot
Yeah,
is our sponsor, and we forgot to run their commercial, so we'll run that either at the end
all good,
or
all good.
All right, John, look, you're good, Dave.
What do I
So,
have?
John, do you have a story? If you don't, it's okay.
Yeah, I have. You know, I don't know if this is a coincidence, but British Airways is now going to buy some 53 Airbus and also about 28 new 787
Boeing.
Boeing jets. You know,
Yeah.
remember that yesterday Trump had his big day, this big announcement that they made a deal with the UK on tariffs, which was going to be 10%. So that's pretty good. Last week, you know, the CEO of Ryanair, you know, Irish low cost carrier, said that, you know, if they don't do something about the tariffs, he has an order for, I don't know, I think it's close to 100 737 jets from Boeing, and he said I'm going to cancel them and I'm going to buy the CJ9 from China. So you know, maybe that, you know, at least Boeing's gotten a little reprieve here, but hopefully
The
they make a
planes won't
deal with.
fly, and they're not going to make it in the air, and the doors will fall off, the wings are going to fall off, and the wheels are going to fall off. But
All
you,
right,
Boeing, you keep going.
let's not be so negative.
All right, maybe the wheels won't fall off, but other than that.
So that's I think a win for Boeing, you know, but that's had a lot of trouble.
Yeah, congratulations, Boeing. All right, Michael, you want? I'll go really quick before Michael, and then David has got some animation.
All right, go quick.
Let him go last. So really quick, it says in the FT, it's the big read on media. Is Japanese anime the next global IP gold mine? The Japanese cartoonists are attracting worldwide audiences, Hollywood studios, private equity companies alike who want to reap the rewards. It's talking about, it's a $37 billion industry. And because my profession is the oldest profession and we can't make money anywhere else, where are we going to start telling you if things are worth money? Japanese anime. So they're trying, the people from private equity, venture capitals, they're all heading over to Japan because they want to buy these little shops, and they're going to package them up kind of like what they did with music rights and, you know, all the music packages. So
awful.
Your money, here's what's really funny. I had this discussion with someone about a week ago, and they were talking about investing. I said, listen, we're the oldest profession. For you to shake our hand or talk to us cost you $1 billion. You're leaving it on the dresser. So when you hear as a normal person that this is what's going on, it's already been going on and you've already missed the boat. So they've probably been there for a year or two. We know some people that are into Japanese anime. So this is very exciting for them. So it's going to be like Leroy Neiman's art was in the 80s. You know, is like, it'll be the thing to get now. So if you don't know what to do with your money and especially your crypto algorithm money, go buy yourself a Japanese anime studio and you'll be worth at least a couple 100 million yen. And if you figure out what that is, it's not a lot of money. So it's money for the Japanese anime people. So congratulations, because your stuff is fantastic. So there you go. There you have it. Michael, what do you got?
Well, I've got money for Instagram, because Instagram's AI chatbots are now lying about saying that they are licensed therapists. And and so obviously Meta is saying that it's inaccurate and inappropriate, but that's what's happening. Terrible.
Very cool. All right, nice. All right, well, so that's going to be lost
Don't
money for
trust.
Meta.
Don't trust the therapists on Instagram.
Don't trust their Instagram. All right, David, you're the last one. What do you got for us? You've been away for 7 months getting oiled by naked Tahitian boys, and you still look well. What do you got?
Yeah, well, this is literally something near to my heart. I found this. I thought it was so good I had to share it. I hope it's going to be, found money for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And here we have it.
Ah.
So this is
very nice
pacemaker the size of and it's dissolvable. So this could actually revolutionize healthcare.
Rice grain pacemaker. I like it. That dissolves. Yeah. Very cool.
Dissolves. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So that definitely is a found dollar.
Yeah. Very nice. The rice grain pacemaker, everybody. So, John, start looking into that because you're going to need it. So I've seen how you eat. So it's been a wonderful show. Michael's at the train station and he's going to use old-fashioned coal to power himself to where he has to go. He's actually going to be in the front shoveling it. So we're very excited.
I thought he had steam shoes on or something.
Yeah, that's right. It's all steam engines here.
It's all steam engines there. It's upstate New York, so it's all they can afford. And next week we have a very special guest, and our guest is Michael.
On David D. Molfetta from the Next Gov publication, all the insider information about the federal government, you're going to hear it on the Lost Dollar Business Club.
Next week, everybody. And he was on a month ago, and everybody loved it, and he apparently enjoyed it. And we told him if he came on again, we'd release his family. So he'll be back next Friday on the Lost Dollar Business Club. So that'll be good. So for all you fans that have watched live, thank you very much. For everybody that's watching the rebroadcast or on the podcast, thank you. Don't forget to subscribe and like. And we will be back next week with our guest and another exciting show. And Grandpa will be here as well. So we'll see how that goes. Anyway, we'll see everybody next week.
Depends on the timing. Depends on the timing.
Yeah, well, if it's feeding time at the home or not, we'll see. Anyway, everybody, don't forget to subscribe and like. It's good to see everybody. Have a wonderful day. And if you have a story you want us to cover, let us know, and we'll do what we can. Cheers, everybody.